I want to hear about your stories in the IDF. But before we get into the IDF, how did you end up in Israel? Let's back it up even further, because I feel like you have to hit that first in order to get to the rest of it.
For sure, yeah. There's definitely meat there. My mom is born and raised in Israel.
Okay.
So she grew up there. She served in the military when she turned 18. She was there for like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, so your mom was in before you?
Yeah.
So you kind of had some lineage going to
Yes.
this. Okay.
Yeah. So my mom's whole side of the family still lives there. Mm-hmm. And so when she went to the military, what she did mostly was train units, fighting units, how to use like bazookas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was her job. Yeah, she's a badass. She did some other things, but that was pretty much the bulk of it, was training them how to use RPGs, and because that's the way that it works. I mean, I don't know how it is in the U.S. military, but at least in the Israeli military, like if you're learning a gun that is not just a rifle or like a pistol, like there's a whole course on it. Yeah. So that's what she did. She taught people how to use RPGs. And then she was traveling, went to the United States, met my dad, who was her uncle's roommate at the time.
And was she still in the IDF
no,
at this time?
At that time
Okay.
she was out. Yeah.
All right.
And usually what happens is for Israelis is when they finish the military, they do a big trip. It's called Tiyula Gadol. And it's like 6 months to a year. They'll go like Thailand or Brazil. They just go wherever. Israelis love traveling. So so she was doing her big trip, and part of it was in the United States.
Okay.
She was visiting her uncle, and her uncle was my dad's roommate in California.
Okay.
And so they met through there. Then she kind of left. My dad and her uncle had a party. She came back for it, and then that was it. Kind of, they just started dating. Then a year later, got married. 2 years later, had me.
Similar game to my parents, except for they were both in the military at that time.
Oh, okay.
My mom had chased down my dad to it was like a UPS store. He was the drill instructor.
Oh, really?
And one of her friends was like, "Hey, he's kind of." My mom's like, "The drill instructor, really?" And so she ended up chasing him down, and it was a whole thing. But
no shit.
Yeah.
So does that mean you're in what's the good insurance?
USAA.
USAA.
100%.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, so your mom was in the military. Then how did you end up in Israel? Because it sounds like you were born in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you grew up here.
Yeah, I grew up here. I was born in New York, but moved pretty quickly when I was an infant, and then ended up in Boston.
Okay.
Grew up there, but since half my family is there, we would go to Israel like yearly. To visit.
So it's not a foreign land to you?
No, not at all. I mean, I was going there since I was since as early as I can remember.
Okay.
And I remember being there in the 90s, in the early 2000s. I mean, during the second Intifada. I mean, like, the second Lebanon War, like all of those kind of big moments, that I remember at least. But yeah, so we would go there yearly. When we got older, it was like maybe like once every like 2 years, something like that. And for me, when I turned 18, I had dropped out of high school. I was just kind of working. I was actually planning on moving to Colorado to move in with my sister. Mm-hmm. She was going to school out here. And we had a trip planned to go to Israel, and I went. And at the time, it was just, I was kind of going through a tough time with like my life. And I just saw this opportunity to stay in Israel and just kind of change my life around. Mm-hmm. We had a 2-week trip, just hanging with fam. And I never came back.
You didn't get on the plane back? All right.
Yeah, it was like a feeling, I mean, okay, the truth The truth was a girl.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we all ended up at these places.
Yeah. It's honestly, there was a girl I was crushing on hardcore, and
so what you're telling me is your dick led you into carrying around a Negev and shooting people.
yeah, you know, I didn't shoot many people.
That's fair.
But yeah, it was definitely a girl that got me to want to stay longer. It wasn't ultimately her that got me to stay, but it was like 2 weeks I was there, and I was like, I need more time to try to
I got you.
get with this girl. So the funny thing about that is
you guys only got me shooting threes in the alley. Come on, let me go to the post.
But the funny thing is I never saw her again when I decided to stay.
That's how it always goes.
Always goes. But yeah, so I was like, all right, like I'm gonna stick around, and I was just living with my aunt, uncle, and cousins, and then and then just after about a month, I was like, wow, I really love this country. I love the people. I was considering going into the military before moving to Israel. I was talking to a recruiter.
So U.S. military.
U.S. military.
Okay.
And what stopped me was they were like, yeah, you know, you'll do your training, like, and we'll just send you to Afghanistan. Pretty much what the recruiter told me.
Yeah.
And I didn't see how me going to Afghanistan helped the country at the time.
That's fair.
It was just like, I just don't see it. But with Israel, it was like, you're going to defend the borders.
Yeah.
You know, these are our neighbors want us dead. So it's not like I'm going and doing tours. I'm guarding my little cousins, the house, exactly. So it was a little easier for me to be like, okay, like that seems a little bit more impactful in terms of military service to me.
So why not French Foreign Legion then? Just go out and get bounty contracts. And
I ain't French.
Well, you don't have to be. That's the whole point of the French Foreign Legion.
I don't know much about the French
Foreign Legion. Oh my God. So this is just a bunch of bounty hunters.
Okay.
So you show up.
Mercenaries.
Literally anybody can show up. They will take your passport. They'll take it, throw it all to the side. You have like a week of training. If you make it out, they give you a new French passport with your name on it. You're welcomed in right then and there, on the spot, as long as you pass all their training and everything.
Yeah. You're
given a FAMAS, and you're said, go to this training. And that training is now, okay, you are a bomb squadron. Congratulations, that's what you get. You and this bomb squad are now here together. But it can be anybody in the world. That's why it's the French Foreign Legion. So the reason that they do that is so that they can send all these non-French people to go do shit, and the French can't be involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A bunch of crazy Aussies do it all the time.
Working the system right there. All right.
Now, even further, the French Foreign Legion takes care of absolutely everybody that worked for them. So, like, once you are part of the French Foreign Legion, they have a chateau out in, like, the vineyards in the south of France where all of these guys go to retire to, live out their days, and just tell war stories and drink wine.
Honestly, if I had known about it at the time, I probably would have considered something like that. To be honest, I'm being dead serious. But also, at the time, I mean...
So yeah, let's get back to that. So now you're in Israel, you're hanging out, and you want to stay longer, chase and skirt. Where did the military...
Unsuccessfully.
Where did the military come in between those two of chasing skirt on the West Bank and...
Not on the West Bank. No. That was near Tel Aviv.
Okay. So you're in Tel Aviv. Did somebody come outside and like... Hey, we got openings in the military. Come on over.
So
what was it?
Pretty much how it works is every Israeli citizen has to do the military.
Okay.
So like even when I was 17 years old, living in Boston, I went to the Israeli embassy to tell them I'm not joining the military.
Okay.
Because I've always been an Israeli citizen. I just wasn't a resident because I didn't live there. So, so because I didn't live there, like all I had to tell them was like, yeah, I'm not joining. Right.
But you got citizenship through birth.
Through birth, exactly.
Okay,
yes.
all right. So now this is starting to line up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was there, I was basically just working in construction for my uncle, and then they said, okay, we're going to give you a 1-year temporary residency. You can work in that year. You can do like you're a resident. After that year, you either join the military because you're of military age, or you're not allowed to like live here. Like you can come and visit and stuff, but we're kicking you out of the country essentially. So they gave me an ultimatum, and I had a year to decide. So I just started learning the language. I was working. I was going to what's called an ulpan, and it's just like a language school to learn Hebrew. And within about a month after my parents, my family, my immediate family left, and I was just there with my uncle, my aunt, and my cousins, I met my group of friends. They took me in, made amazing friends, and I was like, okay, like this is my life now.
Yeah.
So I probably 3 months after I got my temporary residency, I did what's called Aliyah, and Aliyah means moving up to Israel. So essentially becoming a resident. That's just the translation.
I got you.
Going up.
Yeah.
So I signed all the paperwork. I was like, that's it. Like I'll join the military in like a year because I need time to learn the language and become fluent. Yeah. So I got my residency card. It's called my Teodat Zeut. It's like my ID. Yeah. And that was it. And then so I just was hanging out with friends. They were all my age, 18. And I was just learning the language, partying, having a good time, doing whatever. And
doing the same debauchery we all did.
Yeah, exactly. Only I wasn't in college. I was just in Israel. And so the way that it works is you finish high school and then you get what's called your machzo, and that's your period, like your period of recruitment. And I think they do it, it's like quarterly. So you might...
So like a sign-on date.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. It's like January, it's like December, March, August, and that's it. So there's 3. So there's like roughly 3 periods where everyone gets recruited. And so some of my friends were early, or November. So there are 4. So it's November, December, March, and August. Okay. Those are the machzorim, or the periods. Yeah. And so my friends were scattered. Some got recruited early, so like we just became friends, but then they went off in the military. Some kind of in the middle, and then me and my really good friend Iftach, we were like the last ones. Yeah. In August. So I had like a year in Israel. I got recruited a little bit early, but yeah, I had about a year to learn the language, have fun, and then I got recruited in like the end of June. Okay. A little bit earlier than the period. Because they sent me to a base where there are people like me. They're called Olim Chadashim, new immigrants.
Gringos?
Yeah. Sorry, Phoebe.
The Gringos, the Guilos.
The Gringos, and there's plenty. There was a lot from Russia. There was a lot from Ukraine. Totally. It was just Jews from all over the world. Yeah. So Russia, Ukraine, Mexico, United States. So France. I mean, there was a lot, and so they and that's like an introduction to like this is what it's going to be like.
Yeah. What would you call them again?
Olim Chadashim.
I'm not gonna.
The Gringos.
Okay, so the other out, not necessarily.
There was black, a lot from Ethiopia. That's what I'm saying. A lot from Ethiopia.
From all over the place.
All over the place.
Everybody that I guess we'll say didn't kind of have an Israeli base.
Most of your typical Olim Chadashim, your new immigrants, are ones that moved there with their family. A lot running from persecution still. Jews still get persecuted all the fucking time. Yeah. A lot of them would be, maybe moved there when they were like 12 or something, or when they moved there when they were 16, or just recently moved there, or, whatever. There were never really many like me where it was like, yeah, Israel's pretty dope. Girls are hot. I like it here.
You just kind of kept your mouth shut for a lot of that.
I did. Yeah. Like,
as you were hearing some of these war stories, you're like, sucks, man. Welcome.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of them were like gung ho Zionists, right? Like ones that are like very like Israel. I want to fight for Israel and for Jews having a homeland. Me, I was like, this girl's pretty hot. I like the beaches. It's fun. I like to party here, and my friends are cool.
Mom from here.
Mom here from. So we're looking at June. The day. So when you get recruited, you go to what's called the Bakum.
Okay.
And that's where you go. My parents came to send me off, and you're just sitting there. You have all this clothing, and you're just like, okay, like I'm gonna go to base. And so we're sitting there. I'm with my whole family,
and is this after training or before?
This is before training. This is like day one.
Oh, okay.
This is day one.
Oh wow, they ramped that up fast.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a year, but yeah, it's like okay, like you're getting recruited. It was like June 28th.
Yeah.
And it was like, be at the Bakum this day. So we get to the Bakum, we're waiting, and you literally just wait till your name gets called. They call each individual, and they'll call like 30 people at a time, because then you get on a bus and they take you to another base. And so for me, it was waiting around for like 2-3 hours. They don't tell you what time. They're just like, get here this day.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you have a number? Is it alphabetical?
It's random.
So you literally just twiddling your thumbs.
I could have gotten there and been the first person. But yeah, we're just sitting there, and then all of a sudden you hear your name.
Yeah.
And you have 5 minutes essentially. And that's to say goodbye and everything.
Yeah.
And so that was weird, because my parents came. And my dad was there. It was the first time I ever saw my dad like holding back tears.
Yeah.
Because that's a scary thing. Israel's always at war. My dad and my mom are like, oh yeah, my kid's just in the military in Israel, where they're always at war. Like, I always thought about that. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I'll never forget that moment where they call my name, William Enos, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is happening. And I'm not even in military clothes or anything. And, you know, I give them all hugs. I get on the bus, get in line, get on the bus. I'm sitting on the bus. Everyone else is getting in. And I'm just looking at my parents and like, holy shit, like this is going to be 3 years of, I don't even know what the fuck.
But that's the best part.
Yeah.
So how much Hebrew then did you speak at this time?
I was pretty good at this point.
Okay, so like so you weren't like sitting in the corner scared, only being able to say, me table, sit here.
I was a little nervous. I could have a good conversation, but I was humbled when I got to the military, because it wasn't like what I knew.
Okay.
It was like another language. Even like if you were born and raised in Israel, you still learn like a whole new language in the military talk.
Yeah.
And so there was like a big learning curve for a few months, but
you weren't like an immigrant in the DMV office. Just
No. I like, people would be like, go over here, go over there, do this, here. I got that. Yeah.
And you could have like a meaningful conversation with them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I had a girlfriend at the time, and I had no intentions of being in a fighting unit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to do my 2.5 years, because men have to serve 3, women have to serve 2.
Okay.
Olim Chadashim only have to serve 2.5. So the new immigrants only have to serve 2.5 unless they go to a special force.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm just going to go get a job. I was like, I'm just going to,
Can I work the front gate somewhere? Like
that's all. I was like, I just want to live here. I just,
somebody needs to mow the base, right? Like,
right.
You need a
They do have that. They have dudes that sell cans of Coca-Cola to fighters and stuff.
Okay.
I was like, give me something where I can apply it after, like I'm not going to college. Mm-hmm. So give me like an intelligence something where I can work with computers. Right. So that's kind of what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
But then I get on the bus, wave goodbye to everyone, and then they take me to like this little base right nearby. Like, it was like a 5-minute bus ride. They shuffle everyone out, And then it got a little bit crazy. It was like, we get in, they're like, put your bag here, stand in this line, and you're standing in this line, they shave your head, right? Like
So this is looking,
it's like a prison.
Scene is very similar to like basic training of our military.
Very much.
So
more like boot camp.
You got a drill sergeant shouting at you.
Yeah, not a drill sergeant yet. It's more just like
a person of authority.
Persons.
Okay.
Right? Like each place that you went to, there was an authority figure, but it wasn't like you had one guy that whole time.
I got you. Okay.
So they sent us this one line, we're all in line, and then you just wait, you get in this room, they shave your fucking head. So got my head shaved, and I was like, all right. Even though I had shaved it earlier, but they were like, nope, we gotta do it.
This isn't good enough.
It wasn't.
Well, you also didn't have your beard then either.
You're not allowed to have a beard. Yeah.
So you had.
I was baby face.
Okay.
Baby face. Looked like I just got out of prison. And if I have my wallet, I can show you the day.
Yeah.
I'll show you in a little. It's over there. But so then
we'll include a picture on here.
Cool.
I'll get it. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, it's right here.
It'd be here under my hand.
Right there.
I got it. I got you.
And then so that then the really like okay, then there was like, some like physicals and stuff, and they were just kind of like checking. Then the really weird thing where it really hit me was when I had to sign a will. That was the moment where I was like, holy fucking shit. Like even if I don't go into a fighting unit, which I ended up going into a fighting unit, but even if I don't, like, you saw what happened on October 7th. A base got overrun, and not all of them are fighters there. Like, I could fucking die. Like, it hit me at that moment where they're like, if you die, where do you want the money to go to? And it was a will. I was 8. I was 19 years old, and I was signing a will, and it was the most surreal thing. It was like
That's when everything caught up to you in a moment?
Everything. It was like the ringing that you get in your ears, like when you get fucking socked in the face. Zing! I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I was like, that's what I was thinking. And so I signed the will, and then after that,
and how long is this time frame wise from like you getting off that bus?
Off that bus, this is like about 2 hours in.
Okay.
It's a long line. But yeah, it was like very like bye, wait.
They didn't give you a cot yet. They didn't even give you a cot yet.
No, they didn't even give me a cot. They didn't even give me my army boots yet. Like it was all. I was still just zing, and then they gave me my army boots. They gave me my
after you signed your will.
Yeah.
Okay.
My uniform. My Aleph uniform.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 different types of uniforms. There's Aleph, which is like your nice one. Mm-hmm. That's the one where you like would put your pins on, and when you go home, you have your beret on. Then you have Bet, which is like A and B. Bet is the one you like work in, or like if I was going to a mission or something.
Just regular day camos.
Yeah. Well, it's not camos. It's like that olive green, but
BDUs.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, after you do all the preliminary stuff, you get your shit, then they sent me and all the other people into a room to literally watch war crimes that Israel have committed.
Elaborate, like in
don't do this shit.
Oh, okay. So it's not an encouraging video.
No, it was like a movie. It was like a long movie of like, these are all the things that you don't fucking do in this military.
Okay.
You don't fire first. You fire when fired upon. Like these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Your
basic rules of engagement.
Basic rules of engagement, but also they showed you like things like, this was a mistake that we did in 1985 or whatever, and it would show you what it was. So it was just
That's pretty cool, actually, to be like, hey, we fucked up, and this is why.
Yeah.
And this is what happened.
Yeah.
So
don't
the full
do
picture.
it.
Don't do it.
Don't fucking do it, because if you do, you're gonna go to military prison. They'll send you right to military prison.
But it's the why, which is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
as
good.
opposed to the like, hey, just don't touch the butt.
Right. Exactly. It's you need the why. Mm-hmm. Now I remember that being a hard moment for me to understand.
Yeah.
Because it was like I've still to this day I'm not very good at watching movies in Hebrew.
Okay.
They talk fast.
Ooh, so I have to keep remembering that this is your second language that you're learning, that you're going through this. Because in my mind, I used to work on cruise ships, but everything was in English. So that's how I'm trying to picture. I have to keep, you're watching war atrocities in a second language that you understand 82% of it?
Not even. I'll pick up like one word every like 5 sentences. You know, I'm like, oh, I know that word. Oh, that can't be good. That's not
What are the context clues behind that?
Yeah, so a lot of it was like I asked people. I was like, what's going on here? And they were like,
so this is what you're doing in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the same time, I'm trying to ask people, but I'm getting yelled at because they're like, no fucking talking. You're in the military. You got to be like,
oh damn, this must have been horrifying.
It was tough.
I can't even picture this.
After I just signed a will, I just saw my dad cry, holding
a lot
tears.
in like 6 hours.
Yeah, it was insanity. And then like after that happened, they're like, okay, like go get lunch. Like this is now it's like noon, right?
Enjoy your PB&J, bud.
Oh my god. So then I go and like I don't know anybody. I just sit down on a random table. I didn't even really make much of a friend. I was very much in my head at this moment. It was very surreal. And then it was just a lot of sitting around. After they'd gone through all the stuff, it was like, you're going to this base. We'll let you know when your bus is ready. And it was probably about 10 hours before we got on the bus. It was just sitting, smoking cigarettes, talking to people that would come in and they would go on their bus to their base.
So same thing as before, you're just waiting for your name to get called.
Just waiting. And then it finally got called and it was about a 2.5 hour bus ride up north to a base called Mikve Alon. And we got there at like 1 o'clock and then that's when the drill sergeant. That's when it all was like, you get there and it's 2 o'clock, you're tired, you're like, oh, I'm probably just gonna go to bed. Nope. Door opens, everyone get the fuck out the bus, you know, like in Hebrew, and then they're running you, and you're already like doing shit, cleaning, like it's just all over the place, absolute fucking chaos. No one knows what the fuck is going on.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fish. Just wanted to take a quick time out in the action and let you know. Click that like button, subscribe. It really helps us out. All right, let's get back into it. Chain smoking cigarettes for 2 hours, 4 hours at this point.
Yeah. And I started smoking cigarettes young, so it was in Israel that got me to start smoking cigarettes. But
is that a common thing there?
In Israel, yeah. Okay. Like everyone, especially in the military.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing you get. Like coffee and cigarettes are like the only like prize you get daily. It's like, oh my god,
that's how every military been doing it for years, though. They know
crazy.
They know how to get the people on them.
Oh, and you love them. I'm telling you. Oh
you
my
wait
god.
for your cigarettes to come out your helmet every day.
Oh my god! I mean, I got to the point I just rolled my own cigarettes.
Were you like in the ear, in the pocket, or did you have like a sleeve pocket?
I had a pouch. I had a pouch because I eventually rolled. I had them in my pocket. Didn't keep them like on my helmet. You weren't allowed to or anything like that. You know, it's not like Vietnam.
I mean, there's got to be a moment there where nobody sees it and nobody cares.
I would keep them in my pocket, but then eventually I started rolling my own cigarettes because it lasts longer. Like it's just better bang for your buck. So I had a pouch and it was like a trifold, and you open it up, pull some tobacco out, take a rolling paper, a little filter, got it going.
So you guys were just zooted all day.
No, not zooted. No. But I mean, at this point in time, I was smoking parliaments.
Okay.
Because in Israel, there's a certain chemical that they put in cigarettes in the United States that like make it go out if you don't take a haul for like a minute. Mm-hmm. They don't have that in Israel, so like parliaments were fucking. But yeah, I was was I smoking L&M's? I don't remember. It was Winston. I was smoking Winston's. Oh my god, yeah, Winston's. Those are fucking good. Anyway, got to the base, and at this point,
get on
the bus to the new base.
Get on the bus to the new base.
We get there at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Drill sergeant comes in, starts yelling at us, blah, blah, blah. We finally get to our bunks at like 2:33. And at this point, I've made a Russian buddy. He's from Russia. What was his name? I think it was like Daniel Grogev or something like that. And him and I became we were pretty tight. He was good at English, which was cool. And then the next day, I made a pretty good buddy from South Africa. So that was the base where all like the new immigrants went. So I was able to speak a lot of English.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's where it started, and it was like boot camp. So next day they wake us up promptly at like 6 or 7, get us up or whatever, and we're like running around, start shooting guns, all that kind of stuff, the old M16s. And again, at that point, when I first went, I was like, I'm not going to go be a fighter. I don't want to die. And I have a girlfriend. I just want to get through my service. But then after like that first or second day, you're running around. They're telling you this, telling you that. You're running, you're shooting guns. And I'm an athlete. And I was like, I have to be in a fighting unit.
Now, was that just because you were addicted to the game, or you like compared yourself to the group and you're like, these chumps?
I guess kind of like I definitely was more athletic than the majority.
So you can say a little bit of both. You can say
it was a little bit of both.
Oh, I could definitely pull this off.
It was kind of like okay, like they kind of need me, and right. But it was also fun. Like that's what was fun, running around. I was like always first, and then people were struggling, so I'd run back and I'd throw them on my shoulder and like that, I mean, we spar, we go. We have that intrinsic motivation, you and I both. So you know what I'm talking about, where it's like I don't need someone to yell at me to give me that motivation. I got it from within. Yeah. So when I have someone yell at me, it's only extra. But so it was like, okay, like I need to be in a fighting unit. And I was like, I'm just gonna go to like the standard Marines. That's kind of where I fell on. And so it was about 6 weeks at that base. And it was.
And did you pick, or were you assigned?
I was assigned.
Okay.
So then about 2 weeks or a week before we left that base, we did this. Everyone does this test, and that's where they assign you to the brigade that is best suited for you. Because certain brigades take certain personalities in Israel.
Elaborate.
So there's a bunch of brigades. There's Golani, Givati, Nahal, Tzanchanim, Kfir. Then you got the Navy, you got the Air Force. So there's and within those you got Shayetet, you got Sayeret Matkal, you got Shaldag, you got all these different units or whatever in the brigade. And so you take a personality test, and they essentially slot you into we think you would be best in Golani. We think with your personality type, you'll be best in this, that, and the other. And so I got placed in Nahal, and Nahal is more of the laid back stonery kind of dudes.
My guys.
Tzanchanim.
Sounds like I'd find up.
That's where you would go, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Just a bunch of monsters that just don't have a drive or a care.
Yeah, but are athletic as fuck.
Oh yeah, we'll do it when we need to.
Yeah,
but outside of that, just
just want to laugh and smoke my cigarettes. And there's other ones like Tzanchanim was all would be more of those are the paratroopers.
Okay.
And those are the dudes that really want to be there. and
but are also kind of adrenaline junkies.
Yeah,
but very put together regiment.
They follow the rules very much.
You don't jump out of planes without checking all the boxes.
Right.
That's not
right. And then you have other ones like Kfir is one where the assholes go.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more of the border and military police kind of dudes where they're racists
and have very hardy outsides.
Yeah, they're fucking dicks. I don't like those people that go there. If you were in Kfir, if you're talking to someone and they're like, yeah, I was in Kfir, chances are I'm not going to like you unless you were trying to get in the special forces for that brigade.
Okay.
Which is Hukits, which is the dog unit. So that's the one where you get a dog. And that's where I was thinking about going, but I was like, if I don't make it in the special forces, then I'm stuck in Kfir and I don't want to be with those people. So I kind of wanted Nahal because I wanted people more like me. Because at the time I was like, I'm not going to go in the special forces. I'm just going to go in the standard Marines and just be standard soldier or a warrior is what it's called, lochem, or fighter. And then again, then Golani is kind of an in-between. They are assholes. They're a lot trigger happier kind of people. And then you got Givati is also is kind of similar to Nahal. It's a mix of Nahal and Sanchanin. They're kind of stonery, but they're also oh, I want to be here and follow the rules and blah blah blah. Anyway, I did the test and they slotted me into Nahal. So then when we finished that 6-week recruitment, I get on a bus and I go to the Nahal base. I got there about 3 days before the new period of people got recruited. So it was me and this one other dude, Eyal. And we didn't really have anything to do. Our drill sergeants weren't there. Our fellow soldiers weren't there. We were the only ones at base. We didn't have anything. We would clean and stuff. It was kind of awesome. And Eyal was a very key figure in my military service because I was talking to him and he wasn't that great at English. So we would always talk in Hebrew. And he said something to me that I'll never forget and resonated. And he's really the reason why I got into the Special Forces. So the way that they do Special Forces, they have tryouts. It's called the Gibush. And it's a 1 week long thing, kind of like the French Legion. And you get your fucking ass kicked. I'm telling you, dude, this one of the hardest weeks of my life physically. They had you doing things like crawling up and down fucking huge sand dunes, and they wake you up at 4:00 in the morning, make you run around doing shit. Then you go to bed. They wake you up at 5. It's just torture. And a lot of it is to break you mentally and see who can kind of withstand that kind of shit. Luckily,
you boys got
it's hard to break me. But I had no intentions of doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely no intention. And Eyal said to me, he was listen, you will only ever get the opportunity to do one gibush in your entire life. You will never have another opportunity. So why not at least do it? And even if you make it, you can still say, no, I don't want to be in the Special Forces. You're not forced to. They ask you. And that made so much fucking sense to me. I was like, yeah, I might as well do it. It's a good experience. So I ended up doing it. And once it's like imagine you're yeah, I don't want to play on varsity, and then you do the tryout and then they want you on varsity. How can you say no to that?
Bro, you know the amount of kids okay, so when I coach high school lacrosse, the amount of kids that will have an opportunity to just come play with varsity for whatever reason, I don't know. Either I'm standing on the sideline or another coach is, and I see you buy the bag, and guess what? You're ready. You got gear on. You want to come get a rep? It's that simple.
Yeah.
Come jump in, and they're like, no. Dude, you guys are good. Dude, nobody's going to hurt you. Just come. Give it a whirl.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Wow, that surprises me.
Try it.
That surprises me.
That attitude is very...
I guess a little
you have to
rarer
say it's more I would give you credit. It's more unique than you'd think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. Fair.
yeah.
I'll take that then. All right. Well, then that's pretty much how I felt. It was like I did it.
So you absolutely kick ass during this week. Were there any like unique tasks that stood out, like
crawling,
navigational skills?
That wasn't yet. You only learn navigation in the special forces.
Okay, so this was just like physically beating you up as much as.
Oh yeah, crawling half a kilometer.
Jesus.
I mean, picking people up on your shoulder from when they're in their dead weight and going up and down dunes, sand dunes, where your fucking calf is getting into the sand.
Yeah.
You barely eat. You drink water. They make sure you drink enough water. People die in these gibushes.
And this is all minus the 5K or 10K that you're probably running to get to.
No, we're in the field, so we're in the middle of the desert, and you're like in a tent. I cut my hand on like the first day, and it was like a fucking horrible cut. I was like using a rock to smash the spike and make the tent, and I just like my like hand got stuck in between the rock and the spike, and it just fucked me up. And they don't care.
No,
they didn't send me to something. They just wrapped it up, and it was torture. It was torturous.
While you're there, you see a commonality in personality types that are starting to stand out, or is it like personalities that you didn't even expect? Is like, what kind of common trends are you seeing between? Because you've got to be comparing yourself to the guy next to you, not even in a ooh, I'm better than you way, in a just a what the fuck is going on type of way. You know what I mean?
That's a good question. When I look back on it, those were the ones that really wanted to be there.
Okay.
And you didn't have to. You didn't have to sign up for the Gabush. So a lot of people didn't, and most people didn't make it. A lot of people dropped off day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. 7 days. And
did they accept everybody that signed up?
Everyone that signed up for it.
Okay, so you could see any type of person that signed up.
Anyone.
Okay.
And
interesting. All right.
But a lot of them weren't physically able.
Yeah.
A lot of them weren't mentally able.
Yeah.
So even if they wanted to, after day 2, day 3, it was like, I can't do this anymore, and they would leave. And then you wouldn't see them when you would get back from getting your fucking ass kicked. They'd be gone. And it was a lot of that. But what I did notice were the ones, the very athletic ones, because I was always like, finishing first and then going back to help people, and seeing those ones. It was cool to see. There was a lot of, like, you could have been the most fit and physically fit person, but let's say you were like the first one to finish a crawl or whatever, and then you just sat there and waited for everybody. And you did that every time, you probably wouldn't have been chosen. They wanted people that, can physically do things, but were team players. And it was like no man left behind kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. And so I think that really stood out in seeing the difference in that, seeing the people that were like really kind of there for themselves, and then the ones that were there like, I'm gonna put my I'm going to jeopardize maybe my shit for this other person because they're struggling.
Yeah.
You're only as strong as your weakest link kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So
they were reading your guys' personalities as well.
Because you're gonna have a team, and like you have to have synchronization. Like you have to be friendly with your team, right? You got to love each other. Because you're willing to die for each other. And so they're looking for the people that are like that. And so a week goes by, they're like, Will, we want you. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Okay.
And so that because of that, I had to sign more time.
Yeah.
And so
how many total years do you have now?
Just under 3 years.
Okay. And at what time frame in your career did you do your gaboosh?
That was my 7th or 8th week in the military.
7th or 8th. So we're looking at 3-4 months in.
Not even 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, it was I was in my second month because I got recruited a little bit earlier than everyone else. Everyone else was a little bit different. It was like I was a little bit more prepared than everyone else. Me and like Eyal, because we had that 6 weeks at that base where we kind of knew what to expect. They all showed up one day, and then
you had a leg up on the group just from being osmosis of being in the area.
Exactly.
Okay, I get you.
And so they showed up, and it was like 2 or 3 days of kind of like getting things in the swing, and then the Gibush happened. So for them, it was like day 4. For me, it was like day 38.
Okay.
40.
So you get through, they say, hey, Will, come on in. You're like, yes, take me down. Then what happens next?
So then it's, you got to make it. So we probably started out with about...
Oh, so this was like just the cut into another trial system.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the way that it works is you have boot camp, and that's about 3 months. Then you have basics, and that's also about like 3 months. Mm-hmm. So your standard Marine has about 6 months of training. We had an additional 7 or 8 after the 6 months. So you go boot, basics, then your special forces training. Mm-hmm. And so we started in my unit. We had 2 classes, Aleph Kitabet. So we must have been like 40 something. And I think by the time I finished the training, I think we were like 14.
And did you lose people to getting cut? Injuries?
Yeah, getting cut. Some injuries occurred. Getting cut. Some people went to go become officers. Okay. So you do lose a lot of people, and that was hard because I remember one of them was a really good friend of mine, this kid Yanai, and we were on a march and he fell and hit his head and split it open, and then that's how they kind of found out he had something fucked up in his blood. So they took him out, and like I just like the next day I never saw him again.
Interesting.
And so yeah, it was like
I can relate to that.
Sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like you kind of always were. There were definitely the ones where you knew they were gonna make it. But then there were the ones where you're like, are they gonna make it? And then there were the ones that they made it, and you were kind of surprised. Like, I didn't think you were gonna make it.
Did you ever have a day that you thought you weren't gonna make it?
How
many times did that cycle through your head?
The only time was with the language.
Yeah.
I really struggled with the language those first few months. And those first few months, my officers, my commanders were a little bit more lenient because they understood that there was definitely
a barrier.
Then about 3 or 4 months in, they stopped caring.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't fucking care anymore. And that day, I remember that day where they were like, we don't fucking care anymore. That was one of the hardest psychological days I had, like yelling at me. And I like fucking went into the bathroom and just cried. Just fucking cried. Like a little girl. Just like shut the door. Just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What the fuck? I'm insane. Like,
sounds like he knew what he was doing too.
Oh, he broke. And that is what it's like in the military. They break you down to the point where you feel less than a piece of dog shit so that they can build you up as one into a machine. Mm-hmm. And that was my break day.
Yeah.
And then they built me up. So at some point at the end of boot camp, right or at the end of boot camp, that's where they give everyone their position in the unit.
Yeah.
And that's where I got the negative.
Nice.
And
okay.
There's a lot of respect that comes with being the negativist.
Yeah.
Because you carry a lot more weight than most people. It's a bigger gun. You're kind of like it pretty much says that you're the strongest, like you're the most athletic.
Yeah. You're the linebacker.
You're kind of the crazy guy. Yeah.
Now, for the people at home, how big is this gun?
Shit. Well, it
I'll
shoots.
put the image up right here.
It shoots 556. Yeah, put an image. It shoots 556.
Most people don't know what size ammunition that is.
Like
Please make a size with your finger.
The same, like the bullet is the same bullet you would have for like an M4.
It's about the size of your thumb.
Well, the case, yeah,
with the case.
With the case, yeah, the bullet itself is like probably that long.
Yeah.
And then with the case, yeah, it's about like pinky size, maybe a little bit less than my pinky.
And how many rounds would you carry with
So
you?
to give you some perspective, your average soldier, we had Tavors.
Yep.
And which is an Israeli-made weapon, and your average soldier would carry on their vest, I think it was 180 bullets or 190 bullets. I carried 790.
And they all had 5.56 in the.
They all had 5.56.
Okay.
Because you would have your gun.
So you had 800 rounds with you.
800
at
rounds.
all times.
You would have, yeah, it was heavy, fucking heavy. Your magazine.
Well, that makes sense of why your shoulders are so big. Because like we were talking about that the other day. I was like, man, you always wear shirtless shirts in class just because you got the pipes for it, and that's what it's from. I get it now.
Definitely helped. Definitely helped. Yeah, my back.
So
too.
you paid the bills with the. By carrying just ammo all up and down.
A lot of ammo. Yeah, because your standard vest for a soldier would have 2 magazines here that had 29. We only would load it up with 29, not 30 in the magazine to preserve the life. Because it's not the most expensive military.
And how much did 800 rounds weigh with the Negev?
Oh, man. I mean, I had markings on my shoulders, like...
You just had to ballpark it.
Ballpark? Fuck.
I'm sure the internet could tell us the right answer.
50 pounds?
50 pounds with the Negev?
Without the Negev.
Without the Negev. So just your vest with ammo was 50 pounds that you would walk around with.
Maybe around that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then the Negev itself was probably, what, another 15?
15, 20.
Yeah. So an extra 70 pounds every day? Jeez.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a loadout.
Shit. and I had to run around, man, and like, I mean, the magazine for the Negev was called a Tof, and it would hold 150 rounds. So I would put it in and then put the like chain in and close it, and 150. But man, that thing was fun to shoot.
Okay, so you've got your unit, you're assigned, you're with your homies, you get your actual loadout and equipment.
Yeah.
What's a standard day look like now for you?
Okay.
Because now we're out of training, we've gone, let's say, 3 months down.
Okay, so we're in like basics.
Nobody calls you a piece of shit anymore. Like, you've earned everybody's respect. You're part of the unit. What's a typical day look like?
So I would put that more in like basics. So we're after boot camp. Now there's a lot of learning. So it would be something like they wake you up at like 6 a.m. or maybe at 4 a.m. And it would be like, I called it akpatsa, where it was like fucking annoying. Your commander would come into the tent and come to one person, like whisper in his ear. Your eyes would shoot open. Like you fall asleep the second your head hits the pillow, but you don't sleep too hard because you know so you're just sleeping. William, eyes open. Your commander's right. He's like 60 seconds. Everyone's in uniform. Everyone's out in front of the tent. Chet. Chet is like, it's a letter. It looks kind of like a U. And the reason why he would formation? Do that. Formation. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Because he would stand here to address everyone.
Yeah.
And, he'd be like, Ftach John, open your watch. You have 60 seconds. Everyone dressed, fully dressed. Go. And then I'd be like, everyone get the fire! All right. And then so we'd all get up. You'd get there. Everyone would be there. And there would be like 1 or 2 guys that maybe they weren't fully buttoned. Maybe.
And then he just reams into him for the sake of it.
Oh, not even. He's like, oh, you're not ready? Okay. Everyone open up your watch. In 60 seconds, you're back in your bed, sleeping. Go. Everyone goes, strips in your boxers. go strip down, naked, get in your sleeping, and then they wait, and enough for you to like start dozing off because you're like, oh, it's gonna happen, you know, it's gonna happen, and then 10 minutes goes by and you're just 60 seconds, and this would be 4 times it would happen.
He knew the exact timer on his Keurig to go get coffee and come back to wake you guys up.
Oh yeah,
he was like, he would radio into somebody, hey, start it. I'm going to be over in a few minutes. Come over, read the paper for the exact... He was like, if I get 2 articles in, they'll be asleep.
They would take turns. We had multiple commanders. So they would be like, one would come in, and then he would go probably take a nap, and then read or something. So it would be like that for like the first like hour of waking up at like 4 o'clock, let's say.
Okay.
And then it's like 5:30. Everyone's finally done it. Then we'd start making knots. Tying knots, learning how to tie knots and shit. Kind of some bullshit like that. Then they would take us on a big run. It's kind of like hard to remember the suffering. your brain kind of like
blocks out
a lot of stuff. But they would just kick our asses. Then you would maybe be in a classroom and you'd be learning about tanks, you'd be learning about wars or whatever. Then you would go get breakfast. You could have a cigarette, and then you'd be back in line, and then you'd be doing all this stuff that maybe running you. You'd take these. They would make you carry things that you weren't allowed to look in what was inside of them until like what was called breaking the distance with your commander. Like when they would leave or when you would kind of go to a new place, and you'd open up the box like months later, this thing that you had to carry around everywhere, and there would be nothing in it. It would just be rocks, or it would just be it was called the Algaz Samal, and like you might have some stuff for ropes or this, that, and the other, but then there might be just some like magazines. Like it was just like, it was bullshit.
Yeah, like just ammo cans full of nothing.
Yeah. They would we would do a lot of marches, where you would load up. Like I would have my negative.
So kind of just like hazing you guys and getting you in shape.
Constantly hazing to get in shape.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was.
Okay.
And then you go to the shooting range, you'd shoot, and you'd learn how to shoot, and then you would kind of learn the formations of how we would shoot, because then we would go to the field for a week, and you'd be in the desert for an entire week, and you're basically like, this is how we would take a hill, like if we were in an all-out war.
Describe like the desert, because this is the desert, not like Arizona desert. Like
it was hot.
It was hot. What
and
about
cold
sandstorms?
In the night.
Is that a thing that you had to worry about?
Flash floods too.
Okay.
I remember this one time we posted up at this one spot, and it was a dried up river, and it had started raining, and so we posted our tent up here, and we were and our practice was across the river. Mm-hmm. And so we were walking across, and it was a big river. The banks were probably like 14 feet high, 15 feet high. And I just remember like being in there, and then Yanai, Brandon was like, Will, get the fuck out of there, get the fuck out of there. He was super frantic, and I was like, what the fuck? So I get out there, and he's like, man, it's raining. There's gonna be some fucking water coming in here. And then sure enough, 40 seconds after that, you hear this rumbling. And what the hell is that? And you see this wall of dirt water, 10 feet high, coming down right where I was standing, would have killed me instantly. Like, it would be dead. And yeah, like that was like, it was like shit like that. We got stranded that day. We were stranded, and we couldn't get back to our tents.
I always wondered where Moses' water went after he parted the ocean.
He drank it. They needed it.
I was just rushing down those alleys taking you out.
No, we got stranded. That was one of that specific day was one of the most miserable days of my life in the military, because we got stranded, couldn't get in our tents, we didn't have our wet gear, and so we just kept practicing. And then at a certain point, we couldn't keep practicing. And so we all huddled up, and we just like hugged each other for warmth. My buddy got hypothermia. It was horrible. Yeah, man, it was a lot of suffering, a lot of just hazing, learning about wars, this, that, and the other. Shit, like basic training was tough. Like the base was a shit base. If it was raining, we would get rained on all the time. I remember I was in the tent. I just like woke up in the middle of the night and I look up and I see this huge dip in the tent and like water is coming out from under it. I'm like, that can't be good. And like as I'm thinking that, it rips open and 10 gallons of rainwater just slams on my buddy. And he's just like, what the fuck? Like it was just, there was a lot of laughter because you had to laugh at these things. But yeah, it was hard. There was a lot of hazing and staying fit, and then people were dropping out. But then you finished it. You finished basics, and you got a pin for your brigade.
Yeah.
And then started the special forces training.
Okay.
So my special forces training was for counterterrorism. So like if we're not in all-out war, we're arresting terrorists.
Yeah.
And then so that was like one of the training, and then if we were in all-out war, we were anti-tank with tactile missiles.
Nice.
So that's what we learned, and it was called the Orev missile, and the Gil missile is what we specialized in. So a lot of the training was navigation. It would be like you and one other dude, and you would be studying like all day a map. And you had to go to these certain spots, and it'd be like, okay, you have to go here, here, and here. At this spot, there's like a tree with a red square painted on it, and you have to tell us what the number is in that red square. Mm-hmm. Then over here, there's a like a pile of rocks. You have to tell us like what is the color that the top rock is painted. And then on over here, there's a code. Like you have to tell us the code. That's how they would know if you were actually like navigating correctly. So they would take you, drop you off at like the start point, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then from 1 o'clock till about 6 a.m. you're out there alone in the desert, you and whoever you're navigating with, and you both had your own places to go. So like the first half would be me going to these places, the second half would be him going to places. I wasn't good at navigating. That was not I'm definitely better than the average person now.
Yeah.
But like I was not the navigator.
And how's your Hebrew at this point? It's got to be
At this point I'm fluent.
Yeah.
At this point I'm very fluent. There's nothing wrong. But it was funny at times. They'd be like, like in 50 seconds you've circled that tree, and you've come back and you're in Kriya, which is like the kneeling position. And, oh yeah, Yevashim, or, oh shit. Yeah, it's stuff are coming back. You would like, anyway, so they would do that. And I thought I'd understand, but I'd run in the opposite direction. I thought he said left, but he said right, So there was like a lot of funny shit like that would happen. I was definitely a goofball. Definitely try to keep my unit laughing as much as I could. I got in trouble a lot. And when you get in trouble, they would make you stay at base over the weekend. And that was me a lot.
Fair enough.
But then, yeah, and so in Special Forces training, we're learning what our unit does. People are starting to drop off, but about like halfway through that, like 3 months in the special, you're starting to understand like, okay, like this is going to be my unit. People would go off to sniper school, Kul Smakim, which was commander school, because then they would go and command units. We learned how to shoot Laos, which is like a bazooka, kind of like a bazooka. I became an armored vehicle driver.
Okay.
So it was like kind of like a tank, but it was transport. I did that course. We got to jump out of a plane. I did a military jump.
Okay.
That was like a gift for being in the Special Forces.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. So that was fucking dope. That was like a 2-week thing. And then after about a total of, 13 or 14 months, we finally finished training. And
so that's out of your 3 years, you've got what, like a year and some change done?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got over 2.5 years left to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you finish, it was more like 14 months, 15.
Okay.
And
but a quarter of your service is served at this.
A third.
A third. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, So now you're in your unit. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis at this point? Let's say you've been a year in.
Yeah. Finish the military, or finish the training.
Finish training, and so 2 years in at this point, you've been with your unit, say 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
What's a typical day look like for you? Are you still carrying around 70 pounds of gear every morning?
So that I would only...
Are you like casually showing up and going up to the NP as you're coming on base and he's like saluting you and you're like, nah, I'm good, man.
Well, you do,
what's the protocol
So
here?
the vibe is, it's a lot more lax.
Okay.
So you finish your training and you've now become a lochem. And it's very grueling, getting there. But you finally become lochem. And you basically go back and forth between two different things. One is called kav, which means the line, which means you're doing missions, patrols, guarding duty, and you're just prepared for war.
Okay.
Anything that's going to happen. Battles, war, arrests.
So just staying battle ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just at a base, and you're doing what you learned, essentially. You do that for about 3 months, and then you have refreshment training for like 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
So then, like, after you do the line for like 3 months, then you go back to your unit's like kind of home base, and you're doing drills with tanks, maybe Marines. You're doing refreshment training of like guerrilla warfare. You're keeping up to date.
And at this time, are you hitting up like any other? Are you crossing paths with any other militaries, like the
Marines,
US military or the Canadian?
Marines.
So our Marines is what you were saying.
Yeah, we did some stuff with Marines because Marines would come to Israel to train at a certain place. What was the name of that base? I can't remember, but it was like to train them for the ones that would go to like Afghanistan or Iraq, and kind of like be like, okay, this is kind of what it's going to be like. There was a whole city that the IDF created for training.
Okay.
It's a literal city, and you would go and have war simulations there. Yeah.
Okay, and so like you're training the U.S. military, kind of cross-training
or do drills, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like saying, hey, here's some cool shit that we do, and you're like, hey, this is the desert, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
They didn't really show us anything. We show them, like, this is how you do guerrilla warfare.
Okay.
This is like, it's like if you're going to go in a place similar to Gaza, if you're going to go into a place, like that, where it's very condensed, like this is how you fight that kind of battle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this has to be then where you and I bonded over martial arts. So this is probably where it's really starting to pick up for you, because you told me you did a lot of boxing and a few smoker or two. So like how was your what's going on in training at that point? Like,
so in hand-to-hand combat, you do Krav Maga. And Krav Maga, I would always I don't consider Krav Maga a martial art. I consider Krav Maga a mentality.
Okay.
Because it's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do whatever it takes to kill you. It's not like, you're not here and just hitting, blocks.
There's a lack of gamemanship.
It's like, if I'm down here, you're holding me, and I see you're like, I'm going to bite you.
Okay.
I'm going to fucking grab your nuts and rip them off your fucking body. Like, I'm going to kill you. That's Krav Maga. And so you do learn punching and kicking, but you learn how to fight with a gun. You learn how to dismantle someone with a knife.
Jab a gun down somebody's jaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like even if you're here, like it's with a barrel, boom, right, hitting them with the barrel that fucks someone up.
Probably using their own strap to choke them.
Not even. You don't even need to get to that point. But if it comes to that, yes.
Okay, so like just using your spatial awareness and what's around you to make shit happen.
Yes.
Okay.
So we would have training, Krav Maga training every week.
Okay.
One training a week, and a lot of it was fights. I was selected to go to a tournament.
Like pads, cage fight, or is it like bunch of dudes around you going go 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 go?
No, it was you have headgear.
Headgear's rough.
Yeah.
I feel like I always get hit so much more when I have headgear on.
Well, there's more to hit.
There's so much surface area.
You have headgear, gloves, and like foot, not even full shins. Like they were like foot ones, like
karate ones.
The karate ones, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, where they just kind of cover the very tip of your
yeah.
So you could so you were banging shins.
You could definitely bang shins.
Ooh-wee! Ooh-wee!
Yeah, and so it was win in advance. So it was a jamboree.
Okay, what are you doing? 2-minute rounds? 3?
I think there were 2 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
And this is where I was like, oh, I need to learn kicks. I think I told you this. Because the dude tore my legs apart with leg kicks.
Yeah.
And
especially with bare shins.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, yeah. But on the second round, I was completely compromised.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the beginning of the first, I pieced him up with my hands because I had known boxing. I don't think he even hit me with a punch the whole fight, to be quite honest. But by the end of the first round, I mean, I couldn't really throw a lot of power because my leg was
your leg
fucked.
was numb and you couldn't sit down on it.
It was horrible. I couldn't sit down on it at all.
Yeah.
And so the second round came, and yeah, my leg was pretty compromised, and he hit me. I'll never forget the one leg kick that he hit where I buckled. My leg buckled. It was a knockdown. And it was like I was like, I need to learn kicks. That dude went on and won. So I felt better about it when he won the competition. But yeah, no, lost that fight. And I went to both tournaments.
Okay.
So, you know, it was me and this one other dude who was a heavyweight. I was, you know, he was big. He was like 6'4". He was the biggest dude. And him and I were always the ones that would spar because no one else would spar him. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll fucking fight. I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just like, you know, I lost both. Is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was like a huge, like I didn't get stopped. It was a decision.
And it's not like you're losing to a CPA either.
Right. It's really.
You know what I mean?
No,
it's not like
I lost to a badass. I lost to a badass, and I was rooting for him after he beat me. You know, and but it was humbling because like I was like, oh, okay, like kicks are really important.
Well, to be fair, your kicks have gotten better. They have gotten better.
You couldn't lift your leg in the shower the other day.
Hey.
I mean, you know, you tattooed your toes on my fucking ribs. So.
Oh man, I really want to use that picture for marketing, but that'll stay between us.
Use it. Only the people who know that tattoo will be like, "Is that Will?"
But yeah, so like you have your unit tattooed on you. So tell us a little bit about that. Like,
so the name of my unit is Olev, and it means crow.
Okay.
And so there is like we had an artist in my unit, and he drew this.
Yeah.
In my specific unit.
Yeah.
So this isn't necessarily like my brigade or my general unit's logo.
Yeah.
It was just for my team.
It was the homies.
Yeah. And so he drew this, and I was
dope.
like, "This is dope." So I put it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the Krav Maga tournament happened while I was still in training.
Okay.
So it was unfortunate because when we got sent back to the base to go for the fight camp, our Krav Maga coach had retired. He got like released from the military, and it took like a week for the new coach to show up. So we only had like a 2-day fight camp, and so I really I didn't get like any training in. And we would just kind of go there and go in our gym, and it was just me and these 2 other guys, and we would just kind of like spar around, and we just, you know, we didn't really do much. It was
You do what you knew to do.
we do what we needed to do. But also at the same time, our unit was out in the field. We were the only ones on base, so we were like, we're not gonna do anything. Fuck you. We were like snuck out of the base and got like shit faced. Like we were.
So to be fair, some of this loss is on you. You out there like.
Dude, I was John Jonesing
I was
it.
about to say you out there doing. Hey, I beat you on coke. Like that's what you want,
Dude. We did. We left. We got fucking shit faced.
You're like, man, I gotta get blacked out. So the only way that if I lose, I can blame it on me getting blacked out. And you're like, man, that's some really high level IQ sportsmanship shit.
No, I take that loss to the chin. He beat me. He beat me good. Like, he didn't land a good punch, not one, but he took my legs out so quickly that my punches just didn't have an effect 90 seconds into the fight. The first few, sure, I definitely stunned him. Definitely, but then he was like, okay, I can't get close to this dude. I'm just going to chop his fucking leg.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely pieced him up. We might have tied in that first round. Because but like, then when he just started blasting leg kicks, I had no idea how to defend them. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about checking. I didn't even know about stepping into it, you know, and like hard checking. Like, he fucked my legs up. Like for like a week, it was just like purple and blue. It was bad.
And you probably had so much weight on it. Stand like in the fight because of your boxing, like you
yeah.
just.
Oh yeah, and I had the wide stance.
Yeah.
I had the wide stance, so it was just there for him. So yeah, so that was that. But
okay, so you have your patrols that you said you would go out on missions. What did those look like?
those would be.
Like, where would you go? Who are the bad guys?
Okay, so yeah, now we'll get into like the nitty gritty. So my first base on the line was on the border of Syria. And this was very in the middle of the Syrian civil war. I mean,
what's the year?
The heart of it. This would have been 2012.
Okay.
2012, 2013. And our patrols were essentially just to make sure. So the things that terrorists do is they dig tunnels, as we know, at least ones that pay attention to the war in Gaza now. They dig tunnels, and what they would do from coming out of Syria is they would dig tunnels, they would find their way to come under our border, and they would pop up into these places called kibbutzes, and it's basically just a community of people that like live for that community, and everyone has a job and has a purpose for like their community. It's like communism. It's communism that works.
Okay.
And
on a very small scale.
Very small scale.
Also,
it's like a little farm. Yeah, it's very small scale.
Okay.
There's like one bar, like there's like a cafeteria, but you still get paid. So you can still like leave and like go.
Yeah, you still got working wages.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
But like you live on the kibbutz.
Let's be clear, there's one bartender.
Yeah.
There.
One bartender and that's his gig.
Yeah.
There's a few farmers, you know, like yeah, everyone but that's what what these terrorists would do, they would sneak their way in, and then they would come in with an AK. It would usually be like two guys, and they would just kill as many people as they could until they were killed. And it usually takes
just a suicide mission.
A suicide mission.
Okay.
And they didn't give a fuck. Like, it was mostly kids that they would kill. It would be like, just like how it happened on October 7th. Kids in their fucking beds while they're sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, whole families wiped out. And, you know, it takes a minute to respond to that kind of stuff. So they would be like a massacre of like 10 or 15 people before the police or the IDF would get there and take care of the situation. So that was like one of the things that kind of happens a lot in that specific base. Another thing that they would do, and I'll tell you what we did on the patrol, but just to kind of give you an idea of what we're like up against, why we have these patrols. Is during a lot of the wars, there were a lot of landmines that were put in the soil, and after the wars end, those mines are still active. So what like Syrian people would do is they would dig up landmines and then throw it over the fence so that patrol cars would roll over them and blow us up.
Yeah.
So a lot of it. So basically, we would go on patrols. It would be about 12 hours. And you'd be in an armored vehicle. It'd be the driver, a commander, and then like 2 soldiers. and we would literally just drive the border and just respond to anything that happens. So I can give you some stories of some ones that happen. Like one, there was a dude that was digging up mines, and I wasn't on this patrol mission, but he was digging up mines, and he got shot in the leg. That's one where it was like, I know I said at the beginning, like, you don't fire unless be fired upon, but if you're got someone who's digging up a mine in your territory, you kind of have to take that as a threat, especially because of the history of
obviously
us driving over mines and getting blown up. So yeah, the dude who shot him got the order, shot him in the leg. The dude ended up dying.
Yeah.
Leg off. Another patrol was also mine. This one I was on. This one was pretty crazy. We were just, like at a little stop, and we were drinking some juice, smoking cigarettes, and we got a call like, hey, like they're digging up mines again. So we like go over the border, and like as we get there, dude fucking hits it, and it blew up, and he blew up into 50 pieces. Like
he just kind of suicided himself?
He killed himself accidentally, just trying to dig up a landmine and just set it off and fucking...
And how far away were you?
Like 40 yards, 30 yards away.
God.
and he blew up into like 50 pieces, and like chunks of him were in the fence. And all the people around were like, oh no, Akbar! Oh! And they were like going nuts, and they bring a carpet, and they started collecting his body parts and putting it in a carpet and like dragging it off. It was fucking crazy. What a smell that was.
And what are you doing with this? Are you just like sitting there going...
We were just watching.
What the...
We were like
just watch.
Did you just see what I just fucking saw? What the fuck? It was like, yeah.
And you didn't do anything to intervene. You just kind of sat there and minded your business.
Yeah, we just sat there and minded our business.
Damn, that's probably the most ultimate mind your business moment I've heard from someone. That's just a...
The dude just blew, like he did our job for us. We didn't have to do anything. And another one...
Thanks for playing Minesweeper, buddy.
Really? He swept that mine. Another one that we would do a lot so we treat innocent civilians. So in Syria, a lot of the civilians have nowhere to go. And when they get injured, they come to the border of Israel to get patched up. And so a lot of the times when we were on patrol, it would be, we would get the phone call from these girls called Tatzpitaniot. And what their job was they were looking on satellites, and they'd be like, hey, there's a couple terrorists coming in or something like that, like at this location. They could see them. So a lot of times they'd be like, hey, there's like a group of like 15 civilians running up on the border. It looks like some of them are injured. Go. So we would go there, and we'd get there, and they would come running up, and then we would encase them, bring them into Israel. We would encase them, and we would just make sure that if any rebels or the army from Syria were coming in to try to we would take care of business. So we would post up and protect them while our medics would stitch up people that were hurt. And I'll never forget on one of them that I was on, it was a kid. It was like maybe 10 or 12, and he had a bullet in his ass. And his dad was like holding him, was like, save him, and we did it. And my medics were there, and they worked on him for about 40 minutes. And while I was just there with my negative, just for about 40 minutes, and then they patched him up. But unfortunately, we don't take in like immigrants.
Yeah,
so
that was my next question. Obviously, you can't take them, and you just kind of send them off, and then you
right
guys drive back home.
Good luck, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like protective, but it was also sad because it's like he was probably gonna die. But yeah, so that was like a big one of like patrols, was just kind of protecting civilians that were getting worked on by our medics, and making sure that no one was trying to intrude. There were a couple times where there were a couple terrorists that were trying to get in, called us, their business. But most of those patrols were pretty quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's a quiet day look like? Are you guys just running around drinking Diet Coke, smoking cigarettes?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. A quiet day. As a fighter, you'd wake up. Everyone kind of had guarding duty at some point. So you'd wake up. Let's say my guarding duty was 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd wake up, I'd go on a run, play ping pong with my homies, clean my gun, of course, all the time. Always cleaning your gun, smoke cigarettes, food, maybe call my parents, work out, just kind of chill. You're basically just chilling, waiting for anything to happen. Then
you just I can't get that
ominously
word. Present.
Yeah. And on call.
Yeah.
Always on call.
But you're trying to actively keep yourself present in the moment during that time, so that if something goes off,
you're ready.
You're ready.
Your gear's ready. You grab your vest. You're gone.
Yeah, totally. You're not just laying back watching TV. That's where the activity comes in.
Playing FIFA.
Yeah.
But you're
nobody's got their feet up and just coughing it out. All right.
There's some sitting around. There's some
Okay.
sitting around. There's definitely a lot of boringness because, once you're finished with training and you're just, if you're not on a mission, if you're not on a patrol or you're not guarding, then you're not really doing anything except for until something happens or until your turn comes up to either guard, go on a mission, or.
I was trying to give you guys better credit than some dude just sitting in the corner trying to do wheelies in a wheelchair, but it sounds like that's exactly what was happening.
Like I said, we had ping pong tournaments. We would work out. We would
yeah, but you're present. That's what I'm saying. Is if you're doing sports, you're present. You're here because at any moment you can kind of just drop. If you're playing basketball in the yard, right?
Right.
How hard is it to go from basketball to whatever you're doing?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, there was never, I guess there was never really you're not sitting there smoking weed being an idiot, but I'd be playing guitar and smoking cigarettes or laughing or whatever.
But nobody's going swimming.
You'd go on a run to a little spring and you would
Well,
go
yeah,
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're all ready. We're all prepared.
Nobody's riding their bike with their headphones out.
No one's doing that. No one's. You don't got headphones in.
Yeah.
You don't. Yeah. Maybe you're watching a movie. Maybe you're playing some PlayStation. That's the most of the laziness.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're just kind of doing whatever you can to just kind of pass the time by. For me, it was a lot of going on a run, working out, playing ping pong, smoking cigarettes, cleaning my gun. That's pretty much.
That was a standard wheel day.
Yeah, that was a standard wheel day, and then I'd go on guarding duty, and let's say if I was going on guarding duty, I'd be up in my shift for 4 or 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And in that certain base in Syria, that was some fucking crazy shit because they were in a civil war, and I would literally just be sitting there on my base, and you would see rockets go up in the air from one city, and then rockets, and I'm just sitting there watching it, and it was fucked because I knew people were dying, but it was beautiful. Fireworks
Kind of lit up the sky.
Seeing that kind of shit was whoa, this is the most beautiful fireworks I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But that sucks. And then what would happen is every, let's say 40 rockets between them, they'd be let's shoot one into Israel. And then all of a sudden it'd be when it would land, and then you'd have to be and just yell, and then you would go bunker for an hour, and then you'd come back up, and because they knew that we wouldn't retaliate, and they would be oh yeah, it mischarged. Whoops, sorry, we didn't mean to. It was bullshit. They would send one where they
so
think
they
a
would just
base
pump
would.
one over to you guys
Everyone's
just because you were there?
Just because we're there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And why didn't you guys retaliate? Because you knew the bigger retaliation wasn't worth it.
I mean, the world hates Israel for defending itself for some reason. So we've just gotten used to just kind of like taking a lot. I mean, we developed the Patriot missile.
Yeah.
I mean, just that alone is just like we had to develop something to stop rockets in the air because we were getting rocketed all the time. Like, I just find that to be insane. You know, like you have to develop something to just stop rockets. If we didn't develop that, I can't even imagine how many dead people there would be in like Ashkelon and all these places. But yeah, that would be. They would just like shoot one into us every once in a while, and that was scary. It was loud.
Did they ever shoot it with intention to do damage, or did
they all had intention to do damage, but they weren't
it
always
was never
a good shot.
ever just like a scare off, like, hey, look.
No,
they were trying to take people out.
Yeah, they knew our general area, and they would try, and most of them weren't too close, but I remember one in particular. I was taking the trash out with my buddy Vasily, and I didn't have my gun. I was like, it was like on my bunk, and you have to have your gun with you. I was like, I'm just taking out the trash. I'll just leave. And we're like throwing it in the dumpster. Literally, as that's happening, it was like really close. And me and Vasily, we look at each other, and we just froze. We didn't believe it. We were like, what the fuck? And then another one. And it was like, dude, like 100 yards away. And we were scattered. We just started like freaking out. And we ran into the bunker, and I forgot my gun. And I was because I would have gotten in so much trouble, but my commander didn't notice.
Yeah.
But
you were like, just sit in the corner, be quiet.
Yeah, I did. I had a few of my friends like surround me, so I was just like, no one can see me. And so that was like, yeah, so you had guarding duty where you would guard either at your base or you would guard at a certain place. We would have stakeouts where we would like camouflage ourselves and make ourselves look like a rock, and kind of like in the Lord of the Rings when Sam puts his cloak over Frodo, and it looked like we would make things like this with like PVEX or whatever, and we would just stake out and be like, what are they doing? Or just like, this at this time, like 12 hours, 24 hours. And we'd have missions where we would go out, put face paint, look really fucking scary. We'd be like 6 dudes. We'd go surround a house, and we would go take a terrorist out from his house, arrest him because we had intel on him. Remember time we arrested a dude, and in his room was like all these computers, and when we got all the information, he had information on all of these soldiers, what buses they take when they go back home, where their homes are, who their family members are. So it was planning like a really bad incursion, and like dudes that we would take, and like, all right, like you're under arrest, going to jail, go on trial, and probably jail for a long fucking time. Arsonists, we would get a lot of arsonists. And then when I was like in the West Bank, Judea, Samaria, it was a lot of Molotov cocktails that kids would throw, and like a lot of the dudes that we were arrested were like 17-year-old kids. 16, 17-year-old kids.
So what's just guys that very obviously young, being talked into and persuaded by whatever higher power at
Hamas
that time.
or whatever. Yep, and they would come in and throw Molotov cocktails to cars and set them on fire. They would set a lot of land on fire. So I had to fight a lot of fires with like rubber paddles. Fires are fucking scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot. It was basically you just did what you were fucking told, and it was a lot of scary stuff. I mean, there was definitely a lot of scary shit. We tracked terrorists.
So you get through your time, and
Yeah.
you've got your last like 3 months. What does this look like for you? Because it sounds like there's a big celebration when everybody gets out.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So the month before you get out is you have what's called Chafshash. And that's like you're out, but you're not fully out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be on base or anything. It's kind of like getting you back into society. But 3 months leading up to it, for me, I think we were in training, or I think we were in training, and it's getting so close.
So we're on cruise ships. There's always a great moment that just kind of sinks in, and it happens randomly throughout that kind of like last month or 2 months that, oh, I'm going home. And for me, it was always the final 2 weeks whenever I had 2 weeks left of my contract and I knew I didn't have to do laundry again. So instead of doing laundry, I would just put the dirty clothes into my bag to go home.
Because you knew,
exactly.
When
so
it
that
ended,
so that was my time to kind of go, and that's when it checked out for me of like, oh, it's time. Like now we're out of here. When did you have that moment kind of sink in?
The day I got out.
Okay, how?
So, like I said, the month before you have the Chafshash, and it's cool, but you know you're not really out.
Okay.
And you know if something were to pop off, you'd be right back. And so at this time, I was going to a lot of festivals and stuff, and I was like partying hard. But then the day you get out, you cut your ID, your military ID, you cut it in half. Picture of like one half of my mouth and the other one right here. I'm like,
yeah.
And that is where it hit me when I was leaving the base for the last time. I was like, I will never be coming back. A month before that, you give your gun back. You give like all your stuff. I was one of the only ones that had night vision goggles, so like giving that back. There was a lot of stress because if you didn't have certain stuff, you'd have to pay for it. I'm like, I don't have fucking money, and so there was. But then you have this month off, and it's like, like you're kind of out, but you're not. It's like being on the summer break almost, where you're going back, but or like a Christmas break when you were in high school or something. But then that day where I cut my ID, left, and I went home, and I think it was like the next morning, woke up, and I like put my hand under my pillow, my gun was not there, and I freaked out. Fucking freaked, because I've had my gun under my pillow always. I think I still actually have you still have your gun in the Chafshash. And I freaked out, and I was like, whoa, what? Oh, I'm fucked. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm done. And I got depressed. I've never suffered depression. The closest I've been depressed was that week after I got out of the military. I've had purpose in my life for the last 3 years, and now I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Every day for the last 3 years, I've been told what to do, how to do it, all this shit, and now I wake up and I have to decide what I'm going to do for the day. It was weird. I didn't know how to integrate back into life. It was like, what am I going to do? So I just watched TV for a week.
Okay.
In my
Got
bed.
caught up.
I watched like the entire show of Supernatural.
All right.
I didn't know what to do with my life, and it was a very weird feeling. Like I didn't eat much. I was just in the dark all the time. And then a week later, I was like, okay, all right, I got to kind of decide what I'm going to do now. And so I started bartending and went to a bartending school, learned how to like flare and like spin bottles. And I was just partying a lot, going to festivals. And I moved out of my aunt and uncle's house and moved into Tel Aviv, into the city, and had my own place. Got a job as a bartender at this restaurant, and
You must have had some good Hebrew riz at this point too.
Yeah. At this point, it would take an Israeli like a few minutes of conversation with me before they realize like, oh wait, you have an accent. Where are you from?
Okay.
Yeah, there would be. I'd have to hit like a certain
it.
word. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then so, what kind of got you out of that depression? Just getting out and doing new things and fun things, or?
Yeah, I was going to these festivals a lot, and I had like a group of festival friends, and I would just go there and like take acid.
Well, dope.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Where can the people find you if they want to find you out in the world?
Resolute Fitness.